This is a series of conversations with the major players in the cruise industry, uninterrupted and on location. In this latest edition, I was in Monaco and caught up with Frank Del Rio, CEO of Norwegian Cruise Line Holdings. Would you say that the cruise industry right now is going through almost an explosive phase of development?
You know, the cruise industry is a very long lead time business. So if we want to ship 5 or 6 years from now, you start planning, contracting, designing it now. So if you go back a few years ago, what was happening in 2010, 2011, we were in the middle of the recovery. And so the number of ships coming online today is probably
A result of that.
yeah. But if you now fast forward, what's going to happen in 2019, 2021? A lot more ships on order than usual, because those were pretty good years. And this time around, it's not different because of China. China didn't exist as far as the industry is concerned as a cruise market a few years ago, and it does now, and it holds a lot of promise. So a lot of those ships being earmarked for China.
So every cruise shipyard that I know is operating at 100% capacity.
That's right.
Right? You couldn't even order one right away now because there's no spot.
Well, you could. You could order one today, and the earliest delivery is 2022.
Wow. So you're rolling the dice.
Well, you're rolling the dice as to what the economic conditions will be in 2022, and more importantly, because economic conditions are transient, right? They come and they go, good times, bad times. But what will customers want in 2022?
Yeah, what are you designing into the ships?
Yeah. And what happens, and realistically, Peter, is that if you place an order today, you don't place an order for one ship typically. You place an order for a series of vessels.
A class of vessels.
A class of vessels. So the first one might come in 22, the second in 23 or 24, 25. So you may be ordering vessels today that won't be delivered for 10, 11 years from now. And what's the guest going to want then? And so that's where the crapshoot goes. That's where the innovation, that's where let's sit in a dark room and have some cheap wine and see what happens. And that's what we're going through right now.
So basically, if you get on a cruise ship that's really badly designed, you know there's a lot of cheap wine involved.
A lot of cheap wine involved, that's right.
Just double checking we got that right.
Yeah,
Okay.
we were drinking Johnny Walker Blue when we were designing this one. But yes.
But if you look at the sheer numbers,
Yeah.
it's arguable that the cruise line industry is still in its infancy.
Yeah, when you do the math, the penetration, the countries that are really into cruising, like the US, Canada, the UK, Germany, Australia to some degree, the rest of the country, it's virgin territory. China, with 1.3, 1.4 billion people, have just barely scratched the surface, even though 125 million Chinese citizens traveled abroad in 2015. So yes, measured by the number of hotel rooms. So there are more hotel rooms in Orlando than there are cruise ship cabins world over. So yes, it's still in its infancy.
And yet, it could be argued, and some people did argue at one point, that when you have a small percentage of Americans actually having cruised, you could interpret that to mean that 85% suddenly do want to cruise. And then you build accordingly, and that's when you get in trouble sometimes.
Well, ships have long, useful lives, number one. Number two, they have propellers and rudders, so you can move them from place to place depending on what destination may be hot or what destination may not be, what source market may be strong or not. And so this has been a type of industry, Peter, that over the years, and it hasn't failed once, build them and they will come.
And that you could actually move your assets is what saved you after 9/11.
Yeah, after 9/11, after the recession, the Great Recession of 2008, 2009. And it's what's saving the industry a little bit today, given the world turmoil that we see in some places. You're going to see vessels move around a bit. We're already seeing it. We began doing it 6 months ago. Redeploying.
To where?
To places that are less likely to be subject to the geopolitical issues that we've seen. So we pulled out of Turkey on January 13th, following what happened this past winter in January. And it's a shame because Turkey's a wonderful place.
Yeah.
Almost a year-round destination. A lot of coastline.
And you go back tomorrow if you could.
In a heartbeat. You know, we inaugurated one of our vessels there. We have friends there. And it's a big moneymaker for the cruise industry because it's not just the Mediterranean, it's the Greek Isles that get affected, it's the Black Sea that gets affected, it's the Holy Land cruises that get affected. Istanbul is home base for all of that.
And when you look at those port calls that are pivotal, like this one, right? That trickle down or that ripple effect economically is severe.
It is severe because when you start moving ships around, it means something else gets oversupplied. And then there's an imbalance.
In the airline business, right after deregulation, it was argued that fare wars were started by the weakest competitor.
Yeah.
And then everybody followed suit, knowing they couldn't make money doing it, but they could lose money longer.
Yeah.
Right?
That's right.
How do you avoid that in the cruise industry?
While not everybody can back clean up for the Yankees, there are no significant weak players in the cruise industry. Most cruise lines, most brands are now under the umbrellas of major corporations that are
like yours,
public, like
yours.
mine.
Well, there's been consolidation.
That's right. There's been consolidation throughout the years. So today, there are very, very few, if any, so-called weaklings that can drag down the entire industry. And if they tried, I don't think that, I certainly know that we wouldn't follow. That goes against the grain of one of our basic tenets, and that is we don't want to use the price leverage as the only knee-jerk reaction to stimulate demand. We rather...
Because you can't come back from that.
It's very hard to come back. Some major cruise lines have yet to reach their pre-2007 yields.
Because of that.
Because of that.
I mean, when you take a look at who's got the piece of the pie, you have Carnival #1, RCCL #2, but you're fast growing as #3 because you now have 3 brands.
That's right. That's right.
You have Norwegian, you got Regent.
And we have Oceania.
Yeah.
Yeah, and those are 3 distinct brands in each of the 3 major categories: contemporary, premium, luxury. And we don't compete with one another per se. We have lots of synergies. The brands have really learned from one another after the
You're
merger.
purchasing the same brands of soap?
What's that?
You're purchasing the same brands of soap and volume?
No, we don't. But you buy them from distributors who might carry different brands. We do
Right.
try to make the brands different from a customer perspective. We do take advantage of our scale on all the back office things. So yes, we do buy lobster tails together. We buy Coca-Cola together. Spare parts and things of that nature, IT, accounting, but the brands stand
Copy
on their
paper.
own. Copy paper, that's right, that's right.
Well, you mentioned the word luxury, one of the most misleading words I can think of because everybody has a different definition. You have conferences trying to define it. How can you define it?
Luxury means different things to different people, and I'm only concerned about what it means to my customers. And what my customers wanted is this ship. Lots of space, both indoor and outdoor, as you've been on board for a week now.
Now,
Peter.
this is the newest ship on the market right now.
That's right.
Just got christened, Regent 7 Seas Explorer, which you guys have branded. You trademarked it as the what?
The most luxurious cruise ship ever built.
And by the way, I'm only going to allow you to say that once, okay?
Okay.
But now define that for me.
It's I can't define it in one word because luxury means so many things to different people. But Regent is luxury, and what luxury means to our customers is exactly what you see here. Lots of space.
Yeah, I want to talk about space because, not to quote Henny Youngman, but I will, on some cruise ships you have to leave your room to change your mind.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
You guys spent a lot of time and energy with naval architects and designers trying to figure out allocation of that space.
Yeah.
Without compromising the product.
There's always compromises, I won't lie to you. You're building a massive structure that floats and moves, and so there's give and takes. But I'll look you in the eye and tell you that those are de minimis, if any. We never wanted to compromise on our core values of space. And not just space in your suites, not just space in your restaurants, space indoor, space outdoor. The swimming pool, that's one heck of a swimming pool. I don't know if you were out there this afternoon and saw the infinity pool out in the aft. It is beyond wonderful. The entrance to the spa, the grand hall leading to the Compass Rose. So that's very important. It starts with space because if you don't have space, then everything else you're playing catch up. Once you have the space, now you've got to have the aesthetics. You have to have the good taste to fill that taste with beautiful furnishings and fantastic ceilings and exotic materials and furniture and artworks, which I think you've seen all around. And then we're just talking about the hardware. Then the real luxury part comes in, the software, the part that people will remember not tomorrow when they get home, 6 months from now. They're going to forget what this beautiful library looked like, but they'll remember the experience, the interaction with our crew, our staff, the cuisine on board. That's what they remember, and we think we shine there as well.
Well, I want to go back to the cabin because I've always argued that you spend more waking hours in your bathroom than you do in any other room in the hotel or on the boat or on the ship. So if the bathroom works, there's a reasonably good chance the rest of the ship works.
Yeah.
So how much attention did you spend on the bathrooms?
We actually started designing the suite out of the closet. Because we'll take it one step further. If the closets aren't to your liking, everything goes downhill. So we did focus groups where we brought in multiple past guests on the Regent brand from the other vessels in different suite categories and presented them 6 different closet configuration mock-ups. And from there, once we got the closet right, we went to the next step, which was the bathrooms. And yes, you've seen them, they're cladded in marble and they're cladded in granite and all this fancy material and the beautiful inlays on the floor.
Right.
But it's the functionality. It's the functionality of the showers. Are they spacious enough? How far away are the knobs? Is there a place for women especially to put their legs so they can shave? Two separate sinks. They're home. This is home to you. Remember, people don't go on board our vessels to go on 3 and 4 night cruises. They come on board for 7 at least. Those are very far and in between. Typically it's 10, 12, 14, and many of them put back-to-back cruises together. So you might be on board 3, 4 weeks. That's home. And it's got to feel like home in every way, shape, or form.
And then there's the balcony. You actually have functional balconies.
Yes, you can put furniture there. You can use it. Functional is the right word.
Yeah, because if you look at most cruise ship catalogs, they shoot the balcony with the widest angle lenses known to man because you can't get out there.
Yeah. Well, you can get out there and you can stand at attention and look both ways. And and we wanted to make it, like I said earlier, space is probably the #1 differentiator when it comes to whether you're a luxury or not. And we have vessels in all 3 of these categories.
But one of the other definitions of luxury is the words all-inclusive.
Yeah.
Because normally in the travel industry, when you hear the word or see the word all-inclusive, it's usually followed by an asterisk. And the asterisk is, of course, the industry's acknowledged that they're about to lie to you, right? It doesn't include the following 645 items, right?
Yeah.
Other than your spa, it's just about everything else is included, isn't it?
Our asterisk includes three lines to be full disclosure.
Okay, fine.
We're not going to cover your gambling losses. We're not going to cover your spa treatments because there's not enough capacity to give everybody a spa treatment.
Right.
And your gift shop purchases.
Right.
Everything else is included.
That's fair and reasonable.
Yeah.
But I mean, alcohol?
Alcohol throughout the ship. Open bar. Think of open bar throughout the ship, including in your suite, including every restaurant, every lounge, every bar. Round trip airfare. In most categories and to all our European destinations in business class, big deal. A 5-star hotel room before you board the vessel pre-cruise.
Right, which is a good idea.
Yeah, look, we want you to decompress before you get on board. We want you to take all your travel anxieties, all your air anxieties, and the hotel staff.
Take it out on the hotel.
By the time you get on board, you're nice and relaxed. All specialty restaurants are included. Gratuities for all crew and staff are included. All your travel, your transfers between your airport, hotel, ship included. And industry only, unlimited shore excursions. Unlimited. You can literally take a shore excursion morning, midday, and evening.
Now, when you came up with that idea,
yeah,
there are a lot of people in the cruise industry that you were ruining it for them, that you were setting a dangerous precedent.
Well, it might have set a dangerous precedent for them, but it certainly distinguished our brand at a time when the economy was very poor. This was our reaction, the Regent reaction to the Great Recession of 2008.
Was to offer more.
Was to offer more. As opposed to discount more, we offered more.
Does it get down to the idea that people just don't like the idea of always having to go to their wallet?
In this category, yes. These are wealthy people. They don't want to be bothered. They're accustomed to country club life, and they don't want to sign chits for everything. On other class of vessels, folks are on more of a budget, and therefore they are more particular of how they spend their money and how much they spend.
Yeah, who had the cottage cheese and who had the tuna fish?
Yes.
You were quoted as saying that you really built this ship for the 1%.
Yeah.
Proudly.
Look, you can't be all things to all people. We have vessels and brands to accommodate and please all different facets of society, the middle class, the very upper middle class, and the true wealthy. We hope that this is a trophy to them, that they can be proud, they can rally around, that there is a vessel for them, and there's a brand for them, and we're very proud to be that brand.
So what I want you to do now is to take off your CEO hat for a second, put on your passenger hat, and tell me.
My guest hat.
Excuse me.
We don't have passengers.
Fine. Put your guest hat on. Have some free alcohol. But tell me, and you don't have to apply this necessarily to your cruise ships, but to the industry, what bothers you the most about the industry?
Well, one of the things that's always bothered me about this industry is that innovation is not protected, meaning that someone takes a risk, does something differently, the others stand by and watch to see if it's successful or not. If it's not, they laugh at you and they go on in their merry way, and you took the hit on, right across the face. And if you are successful, they instantly copy you.
Where have you been copied?
Itineraries, the way we design vessels, the way we go to market. More and more lines now are all-inclusive or with that asterisk and lots of lines, but they promote themselves as all-inclusive. They promote themselves as the destination experts as opposed to Oceania Cruises, which spends almost the entire cruise on land and very little at sea. It bothers me tremendously.
And what's the one innovation that you thought was going to go through the roof that tanked?
I haven't tanked.
But you said they laughed.
Others have laughed. Others might have failed, and don't ask me who failed because I don't remember, and if I do, I wouldn't tell you because I wouldn't want to make fun of anyone. But
you were laughing. You had to laugh.
I'm sure I laughed at one point or another.
Okay, let's flip that around. What's the one thing you started to do as an innovation that people said, this is never going to work, and it far exceeded your expectation?
I'm hesitant to answer that because I don't want them to know what works, quite frankly.
Nobody's watching this show.
No, you're probably right, but just in case your mom and a few of your friends might be, I don't really want to answer that question, Peter. I can tell you that a lot of those are alive and well in some degree or another on this brand.
One of the things I always noticed in the old days of the cruise ships, same thing with the old days at big mega resorts, is you might have 7 or 8 specialty restaurants, but there's only one kitchen.
Yeah.
Right? People had to learn their lesson from that, right?
On this vessel, in fact, on board all the Regent vessels, on board all the Oceania vessels, if there is a restaurant, there is a separate galley. And if
Dedicated.
Dedicated to that restaurant with dedicated staff. So the French chef is never cooking your Italian spaghetti. And we think it works, and it's why the Regent brand, the Oceania brand's tagline is the finest cuisine at sea. We'll put our restaurants here on board vessel against any of the shoreside restaurants, and I think we come out ahead.
At last count, cruise lines worldwide are now calling on more than 1,000 ports.
Yeah.
That's staggering when you think about it.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is.
Our brands alone call on over 510.
But who's counting?
Who's counting?
But now there may be 511. Cuba.
Havana.
Yeah.
If it's Cuba, it's 514 or 15. There's
We
more
know
than
that.
one port in Cuba.
There are 8 of them. I know.
Yeah.
Well, 8 chartered harbors, yeah. So you're in the mix. You're in the race. You're in the hunt.
I am, and from everything that we hear, we should know the final answer very, very soon. It's been a long road. This is something new, both to the Cuban government and the American government. We're now waiting for final Cuban government approval. As you know, I was born there, left Cuba on August 22nd, 1961. Hadn't been back in 54 years until I went back last September with my daughter and her husband and my wife. And what a place, I can tell you. Havana is a star attraction.
Oh, absolutely.
And our guests are going to love going there.
But then there's an infrastructure question. They don't really have the harbor facilities or the port facilities to handle most of your ships.
Not in Havana Harbor. The first hurdle to enter Havana Harbor, there is a tunnel, a 1950s era tunnel that connects Havana and East Havana. And it's a relatively shallow tunnel, which means that the mega vessels, my Norwegian Escape, for example, can't get in. About the largest ship that can get in, for example, might be my Norwegian Sky at 70,000 tons. My Oceana Marina can get in. This vessel can get in. And then once you're inside the inner harbor, which is one of the world's most beautiful harbor, most protected harbor, now you only have 1.5 working piers. And I say 1.5 because there's one that can handle smaller vessels. And the Cubans have fantastic plans, you should see them, to renovate and increase but it'll take time.
Is there one port you've always wanted to go to other than Cuba?
Yeah, I'd love to go to Syria because the world's best Roman ruins are not in downtown Rome. Probably the best is in a place called Palmyra in Syria. So
if it's not totally destroyed.
It's not totally destroyed, yeah. I know that there has been some destruction, but not total destruction. But if you look at the cradle of civilization, something that interests everybody, you're talking about the Eastern Mediterranean. So I would love to be able to freely go to Libya and Tunisia.
Malta?
And Malta we go to now.
Yeah.
Lebanon, beautiful place.
Beautiful.
Beautiful place. We freely go to Israel these days. We go to Haifa, we go to Ashdod. In fact, this vessel will be the first one to turn in Haifa in the next few months. And it's sold out, packed, and we're hoping that we can begin to use Haifa as not just a port of call, but as a
turnaround port.
Yeah. Alexandria, Egypt. So you talk about extending the European season. The Eastern Mediterranean could be a year-round destination just like the Caribbean is. And look at all those places that we're talking about. I mean, they're each one more fascinating than the next.
And with all this new capacity, you promise no discounting.
We think that our 3 brands deliver more value, deliver more of what consumers are looking for in a vacation, more than just your room or your cabin or your suite, your air transportation, fantastic cuisine, world-class entertainment at a price point they can afford.
And you just won't cover their gambling losses.
I refuse to do that, Peter. I'm funny that way.
Frank, thanks so much.
Thank you very much for
Really
having me.
appreciate it.